The basis of preparedness is simple. We don't know what's coming tomorrow, so we try to be as prepared as possible today. It's just like my saying, conquer tomorrow by preparing today. So what does it mean to future-proof your homestead? Let's take a look. Oh, hello there. Didn't see you there. Morgan here. All right, so first of all, I want to say that homesteading is a state of mind, and you can homestead exactly where you're at. I've talked about this lots of times before, but whether you have acreage or whether you even live in an apartment, homesteading is a state of mind. Future-proofing tip number 1, food. Of course, you want to stock up on it. Okay, stock up on non-perishable food items. You also want to grow it. Learn to grow it outside, as you know, in a greenhouse or just outside in beds or containers. You also want to learn how to grow it indoors as well. You can grow indoors with hydroponics. You can grow indoors with vertical gardening. You can grow indoors with microgreens. You can grow indoors in dirt and pots. You can grow indoors all sorts of ways. I want you to also find local farms. So find those local farms, and could you buy meat from them? Could you join their CSA? Are there co-ops and other things that you can be a part of? Is there, next one is finding local community gardens. Not only could you volunteer at them, but could you actually get a plot and, farm your own garden on that plot? And then raise animals. So there's lots of animals that you can raise if you don't have any acreage. There are quail and bunnies specifically. So quails and rabbits are really good for, smaller areas. They can be, you can have them indoors or outdoors, but they're good in smaller spaces. And they can give you, the quails will give you eggs and meat, and then the rabbits will give you meat. So those are great, really good options for smaller spaces. Of course, if you have larger spaces, you can get chickens and goats and all these other things that you can consider if you have larger space. Go hunting and fishing. So go hunting and fishing. Learn to do this stuff now, because depending on the emergency or disaster, you may not be able to fish or hunt, right? But if it's like a long-term SHTF thing, you have these skills and you know where to go and what to do and where the best fish are, or where the best places to hunt are, or whatever the case may be. Or by going and hunting and fishing now, you're stocking up your freezer, you are canning the meat, you are freeze drying, you are dehydrating, whatever, right? So you are doing whatever you can with the fish and the other meat that you have already harvested. Foraging is a great supplemental thing. There's everywhere you can forage for something, okay? And it is usually seasonal, right? So like right now, prickly pear are in season. The mesquite beans are starting to come into season as well, so I can harvest that. Beautyberry, Yaupon holly, I can always get the leaves from that. There's lots of things that are in season and ready to harvest. So get a book on foraging for your area. Make sure it has color pictures, and then go out and just start identifying and making sure that you are 100% positive, not 75%, but 100% positive that you are eating what you're supposed to be eating, right? And I'm talking about all these options for food because it's important to diversify. I'm not just stocking up on food. I'm also growing food. I'm also foraging for food. I'm also, know my local farms and my local community gardens and all these things. Your local sources, as well as stockpiling and all that. So don't rely on just one source for food. So here's some ways to stock up on water. First of all, freeze it. Go ahead and refill old containers, freeze it. You can fill Ziploc bags and freeze it, okay? Stock up on it, meaning go get the bottles of water that are already purified and sealed and everything. It's just stock up on it, okay? One of the easiest ways. Fill containers of water, in food grade containers. Make sure it's good, clean water as you put it in. You can also put the bleach in and all that, but fill containers. Set up a rain catchment system. If you have a well, make sure that you have a hand pump, I can speak, or other ways that you'll be able to pump that water out. I also recommend an above ground cistern, to make sure that you're filling water And so then you have like a gravity fed, cistern that comes in, so you're not always having to use the pump. And that's emergency water right there as well, because the pump fills the cistern and then you're taking from the gravity fed cistern instead of constantly pulling from the well. So that's really the most ideal way to pull from a well. Find local sources to haul water from. This could be your pool, this could be a local river, could be a local pond, anything like that. Find local sources to haul that water from. You may also want to find an alternative way to haul that water. Like if you usually use your car, right, to get around, maybe you can use a bicycle with a pull behind wagon that you could now, have that to go back and forth instead of your vehicle. Just kind of different options. But have lots of different water purification options as well. So again, just like we're talking about diversifying your food, diversifying your water, you want to diversify your water purification. You want to have lots of different options. You want something like a gravity fed system, like a Berkey. There's lots of other brands out there outside of a Berkey. You could have a UV, bleach, distillation, reverse osmosis, filter and boil. The tablets, the water purification tablets, and then the camping style, pump filters, things like that. There's electric camping style filters. There's all kinds of different water purifications out there, and you want to have a good variety. My next tip is disasters. They have devastating effects on our lives. Having preventative measures and plans in place is extremely important. So, these are some preventative measures we can look at when it comes to disasters. Make a will and trust. This is very difficult to talk about with anybody, but I have 3 children and I want to make sure that everybody is well taken care of. So having a will and trust is extremely important. Get out of debt and save money for emergencies. Getting out of debt is something that we are actually working on. So get out of debt and stay out of debt. And then try to save money, like have a 3-month buffer of emergency money. This is really important when it comes to, like if you're being displaced from your home, if you have to go get a hotel for a little while, remember to rest, exercise, and eat as healthy as you possibly can, everything in moderation, laugh, practice good mindset habits, stay positive, but also understand limitations of yourself, but control what you can control, okay? Okay, so make sure your smoke detectors and CO2 and fire extinguishers are up to date, tested. If you live in a wildfire prone area, try to create a fire barrier around your home. There's lots of information about how to do this online, but cutting back a brush, dead things, and then creating a nice little barrier around your home can definitely help. Make sure animals have a safe place to go during storms and other disasters. So if you had to leave your home, what would you do with your pets? Time and time again, we see people leaving their pets or leaving their livestock when they had to evacuate their home. And then other people came and had to save those pets. And that's unfortunate. That's not a proper plan. What are you going to do with these animals that you're responsible for during a crisis? Tip number 5 is first aid. So do you have proper medications on hand? Are you learning about medicinal medicine? Do you have first aid supplies for everybody in your household? So like I have kids, so I have proper emergency first aid supply, not emergency, but just first aids and over-the-counter medications just for my kids. Then I have them for us for adults. I also have them for my pets. Are you using preventative measures such as proper safety gear, situational awareness, cleanliness? So the next one is community. It is extremely vital to get involved with your community. Go to local events, volunteer, say hi to your neighbors, right? Your community is where you are going to get the most support during an emergency or disaster, okay? Or where you can support others. So we know our neighbors, we are friendly with them. And if something were to ever happen, we would be able to help each other, right? But we can also volunteer at local organizations, to help our community. And then when something happens, the community comes together. They really do. We've seen this time and time again, that community comes together in an emergency or crisis to help one another. Like I was just talking about earlier, we saw those people saving those pets and livestock and animals. because they saw that they needed to be saved, right? They saw these helpless animals about to drown from floodwater, that kind of thing, and they were helping them, right? That's how community can come together. And even in good times, your community can be there for you or for them. I recently had a baby, and our neighbors came over and they're like, oh, if you ever need anything, you need some dinners or whatever, let us know. And they were so nice and just very, very, very friendly, and very accommodating. And we were just so thankful to be able to have that kind of community, but we also look out for each other in the good times. We look out for our homes. Hey, we're going to be gone for a little while. Can you just watch my home, make sure that, everything's okay? So, it's just looking out for each other. That's what community does. I need to reiterate this every time I talk about community. Nobody ever says you have to spill the beans that you're a prepper. Nobody has ever said that. I've never once said this, but every time I talk about community and getting to know people, they're like, well, I don't want them to know I'm a prepper. Great, then don't tell them. It really is that simple. All right, the next tip is security. So security is part of future-proofing your home, absolutely. So situational awareness, spotting strange noises, cars or people in your neighborhood while you're running errands, or, there's always that nosy neighbor, right? Like you want that nosy neighbor because they're always looking at, I'm kind of that nosy neighbor sometimes. I'll hear a noise and I'm like, what's that? And I'll look out, and I'll be peering out, what is that? Because I hear a strange noise. And this is where situational awareness comes in, even at home, because you hear that noise that you don't normally hear. Right? And so you go, what? What was that? And so you go investigate. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something, There's also an incident the other day in which this car, drove past. We got home, we backed up, and they were kind of following us, and they went around, and then they turned around in our neighbor's driveway, came back around, but they stared hard at us as they went by twice. And so I stared hard at them back, letting them know, I see you. Okay. And then, he went away. Then I went inside with the kids. My husband stayed outside, and he said he came around again. He came back around again. And he's like, and I stared him down, and I was like, heck yeah. You want to make sure that these people know I see you. Okay. And that was strange, and he didn't do anything. Maybe he was just looking for a house, right? Maybe he was an Uber driver or, an Uber Eats, and he was just looking, for the house to drop this stuff off. I don't know. My point is, you need to let people know that you know. Solar motion lights, really great. Solar lights can actually deter people. We're talking about security. Sometimes we're talking about deterring or slowing a threat, not necessarily thwarting it altogether, but sometimes it is just about deterring or slowing that threat. Okay. Solar motion lights can do that. Window alarms on your windows. Window alarms can deter. General alarms, other security devices, having cameras up, they can deter people. Okay. A lot of people think that, whoa, if you have cameras outside, then that shows that you have something to really protect. I'm like, yeah, me, my life, my kids, that's what I have to protect. Okay. And don't get this twisted. That's why I have cameras, because of our lives, right? The camera isn't necessarily going to stop the crime, but it could show me that something is about to happen. It can show a stranger on my doorstep. It can be preventative measures, okay? It can slow a threat. That's why we have deadbolts on, all of the doors, right? That's why you have a lock on the door that goes from your garage to the inside of your house, right? That's why you have a lock on your garage. These are deterring and slowing the threat. Trail cams can also be good. If you have a lot of space, you can have trail cams. There are some trail cams that will show the pictures directly to your phone, or you can just have motion sensor cameras out there as well. Spiky bushes around your home, wired cameras. So we were talking about cameras here a second ago, but the wired cameras are really the best because it's less chances of hack, and you don't have to change the batteries all the time. The motion sensor battery cameras are fine, but they don't work in like extreme hot and extreme cold conditions. So that's a downside as well. So wired cameras are really good. But again, spiky bushes around the home, your defensive items, and make sure you're training with these defensive items, okay? And then preventative items to keep critters away from your livestock, like barn cats, okay? It's always good. Diatomaceous earth to keep, bugs away from food, and mouse traps and things like that. Those are all really good. Future-proofing your home is just that. It's about being prepared for the unexpected. So I want to know, how are you future-proofing your home for the unexpected? Let me know in the comments. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.